Hey, welcome back. So today we are going to get our HUD working in our game. So basically what it's going to look like is we'll have a little health bar up there. We'll keep track of our waves, and up in the one corner we'll also keep track of how many enemy we killed. And then if we leave our gameplay area, once we leave that area, it will give us the warning, and if we come back in, the warning will go away. If we stay out too long, of course, it'll kill us. So if this is your first time joining me, you can get caught up on my on these videos for this game by visiting my YouTube channel, Paul Fritz Animation. All the way at the very beginning where we started this game, all the way up until now, all those videos are available. And so let's go ahead and get started. First I'm going to show you a little demo about what we're about to do. So if I hit play, you can see that up in the left-hand corner, there's our health remaining. The wave is there in the center, and then we've got the number of enemy killed up in the right-hand corner. And as we take damage, our health bar will go up and down, or go down. If we find health packs, which we haven't done yet, but we will do in a future video, the health packs will regenerate our health. And then, of course, it keeps track of the enemies that we kill. And it'll also keep track of the waves. But let's go ahead and get started then. We left off here last time with our character. So let's go ahead and pick up from there. The first thing we want to do is we need to, create the HUD. So what we're going to do is down here in our main content folder, we're going to create a new folder here at the top. And we're just going to call this one HUD. All right. We're going to double click on the HUD, and we're going to right click again inside of the folder and go to user interface. And we want this right here. It's actually a widget. So this is a widget blueprint. And we're just going to go ahead and call this W underscore. And we could put our character's name in there, but we may use this HUD for other things. So I'm just going to keep it simple. W for widget underscore HUD. Let's double click on that. And let's take a look to see what we have here. Park the tab up here. When we first open it up, we've got this little tiny space right here. This is our actual area that we're going to create our HUD in. Over here on the right hand side, we're currently in the designer. There's a spot for graph, which is where our blueprints are going to be. Click back on designer. And when I do that, you can see it automatically scale this back for me. But one of the things I want to do is, actually we're going to go ahead and leave it at 1280 by 720, but let's talk about this real quick. Once I click on this, you can see that if I move it up and down, there are different scales that I could choose from. And if I zoom this back out a little bit, you can see that there's a lot more choices. There's 19 by 20, 1920 by 1080, all kinds of different scale sizes. And these would necessarily be used for designing mobile games and things like that. With this one, we haven't gotten into the actual creating of a mobile game or something that's flexible to go to different screen sizes. We're just making a straightforward PC-style game on a standard PC monitor. So we're not going to get too fancy with that right now. We're just going to leave it where it's at. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And the first thing we want to do is go ahead and kind of decide how we're going to lay this out. And on that example I showed you is the health was up here, the wave here in the center, and the enemies here on the right. Of course, this is your game. You can put them wherever you want. You know, we've got some down here in the lower left, all kinds of different things you can do. Over here on the left-hand side, up here at the top, it says palette. These are what we're going to use to create this simple HUD. You can also put images in here, so if you decide you want to create something in Photoshop or some other software, you can certainly do that. You can bring them in here, bring in images to kind of dress this up, make it look more fancy. We're just going to talk about a basic setup right now, and I don't know, maybe in a future series we'll talk about how to really get into making the HUD look, AAA style game HUD. But right now, let's just talk about functionality and getting something to work. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is, right up here is where I have my progress bar. We're going to do that. We're going to come over here to the left-hand side under Common, progress bar. I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to scale this up a little bit. Give me some length here to let the character see, or let the player see how their character is doing. I'm going to park it up here. A couple lower lines here, and with it selected, you can see I have this big flower looking thing. This is the anchor point. Over here, I can move that anchor point around to wherever I want it on the screen. But because this is in the upper left-hand corner, I'm going to leave it up there in the upper left-hand corner. You can also set up your different positions by putting in your numbers here, or you can physically move it on the screen like we just did. There's an alignment system. All the different things over here on the right-hand side that you can do to create this, to manipulate it, to create how wide it is, how long it is, for your size on your X and Y scale. I'm not going to get too crazy. Maybe I'll just go ahead, since it's 400, I'm just going to round this to 400 to keep it nice and even. Doesn't really change much here on the length of the bar for the X. Size of content, we don't have any content, but if you were going to put some content in it, like if this was for an image or something like that, you can certainly select that and it would resize to the content you put in it. We have style here, which gives you some control of a filled image, background image, different things like that you wanted to fill this with. Again, those aren't things we're going to get into this time. Right here, progress, we are going to use this progress bar, and we'll come back to that in just a second. You can change the way the bar fills from left to right, right to left, top to bottom, bottom to top, etc. Set it up as a marquee, give some border padding, accessibility. Down here in appearance, this is where we're going to make our first change. Okay, now I'm going to hit this little blue bar right here, and it's going to change. You're going to come up with this option for color picker, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of make this a greenish color, something like that. And we could use these numbers here if we wanted to make sure that all of our future colors are set up the same. We could also use this color picker, but I've run into problems with the color picker. For whatever reason, it doesn't seem to hold the color. I don't know why. I'm going to go ahead and just move these little bars around. I'm going to say OK. And now if you take a look at it, you'll say, well, there's nothing in there. Well, you're right, there isn't. And that's because right now our percentage is still set at 0. If we kind of hover over that and use the left mouse button to try to drag it up and down, you can see that it does fill. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and leave it all the way up at 1. Now take a note at this. This is 1, and then anything below that is a fraction. That's going to be important later on when we go to set up our health to filling our health bar. We're going to talk about that when that comes up. So I'm going to pop that all the way back up to 1. Again, you can also set your RGB colors and your alpha color. Behavior is something we're going to end up using a little bit later. We're going to talk about how the visibility works, and this is actually going to be for our warning that's going to pop up in the middle. The rest of this we're not going to use for this particular project. Okay, so we've got our progress bar and we've got that set up. So let's go ahead and we're going to grab a text, and I'm going to just pull this out here. Just set the text block under here, kind of line it up to the left there, so my text will line up with the edge. You can center it however you want to make it look. It's your game. The anchor is going to be in the same point. This is a text block, and right here where the word text block is, that's where we're actually going to type in what our particular name of this object is, and in this case this is going to be my health remaining. Okay, so health remaining, it's all in white print like now. You can leave it that way, but I'm going to try to get it to match my health bar here. Now if I click on this, again I can use my little eyedropper there. You can see that it creates that for me, but one of the issues I'm going to run into is that when I say OK, if I click off of it, maybe compile it, it just loses it for whatever reason. I don't know why. So we're just going to go ahead and kind of approximate it to get it close. I'm going to click back down in here. I'm going to say OK. And it's pretty close. Now if we wanted to change the size of the font, we can do that right here. I'm going to leave it at 24. You can change the bold, change the typefacing to different choices. You can make it light, bold, italic, dress it up however you want it to look. You can also change your letter spacing to put more distance between the letters, make it a little bit easier to read if you wanted to. You can set up an outline for this. So a lot of different things. Right here, justification, if you wanted to center it, left justify, right justify. I'm going to leave it all just kind of the way it is right now. Okay, so we kind of walked through a little bit about text. I'm not going to go that far in deep for the next one. Just going to go ahead and get it set up. So the next one, we're going to put this right here. I'm going to set it in the center. I'm going to put it on the same line as the health bar because this is going to be for our wave, and the anchor for this is going to be in the top center. I'm going to change this to wave. I'm going to say wave 5. Just throw a number in there. It's actually going to be overwritten anyway. This is a placeholder. And then I'm going to change it to something kind of in the blue family so it stands out a little bit. Maybe make it dark blue. Okay, that one's set up. Now for the next thing over here on the right hand side with the enemy, we're going to use 2 text blocks. This first one, because it is the information, I'm going to go ahead and just set that right up here. Kind of give it a little bit of space from the right hand side. You can use your arrow keys to move it up and down to help you align it a little bit better. And this is actually going to be the number that we're going to put in there. Again, it's going to be overwritten, but I am going to put 0 in there right now. And I'm going to come down here. I'm going to center justify it so it's right in the middle of the box. I can adjust the size of this box around if I wanted to, but it's in the center, it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to change the color to something reddish. Actually, that's not going to work out the way I want it to. I'm just going to click on that. If I select red right here, it's going to make it a nice deep red. I'm going to say OK. And then underneath that, I'm going to give the tag for what this is, so a name for it. This is going to be my enemy killed. I'm going to set that up so it's right across from, excuse me, right across from this one. Okay, and again, this one's also going to be anchored in the top right. I don't think I anchored this one. Go back and anchor it. And this is going to be right where it says text block. I'm just going to call this enemy killed. Let's keep that nice and simple. And I'm going to kind of center that like that. And actually what I'm going to do is center that again as well. And that kind of lines up pretty decent there. And now I am going to do the same thing, select my color, make it so it's a similar color. All right, so the last set of text box we're going to put down here in the middle. And this one we're going to, I'll anchor that in a minute. If I don't remember to change the anchor, you're going to want to anchor it here in the center. But because if I do that right now, it's going to put this big flower thing right in the middle of our text. We won't be able to see what we're doing. So we're just going to wait for a second to do that. And this one, I'm going to get this all set up first. Actually, first I'm going to, I'll do this first. So this is going to be quite long. Now we could do 3 or 4 different lines of text here, but since we want the text to be to work off of some blueprinting because it's going to be visible only when we're outside of our area, our play area. So we want it to all kind of pop up at the same time. I'm just going to set it all up as one text. I'm going to demonstrate how we can do multiple lines of text using this simple little box here, which isn't the best setup. But so I'm going to do a caps lock because I want to get some of their attention. I'm going to put warning and some exclamation marks at the end of that. And then I'm going to hit the space bar and type in something like radiation levels too high. Now, there is no spell check on this, so you've got to make sure you're spelling it correctly or else it's going to kind of come up incorrectly. So I'm going to type in return return to safe zone, death imminent. All right. So with that done, I'm going to click off of it, and you can see that it's really long right here. All right. So first things I want to do is I want to make it so that it's kind of wrapped back here in this little space here, and I also want to center it. So first I'm going to do is I'm going to give it to center justification, and then what we want to do, and it might be under behavior. Let's see here. Did I miss it? Justify, volatile, localization. I don't know why I always miss this one. It is, oh, there it is. Auto wrap text under wrapping. That's why I was hiding. It was spelled out exactly what it was. Now I'm going to grab the little box and I'm going to expand it, which means we're going to have to recenter everything. I'm going to pull it out until it says everything kind of the way I want it to. So, warning, radiation levels too high, return to safe zone, death imminent. Now I'm going to grab it, I'm going to center it back over here, and use my little arrow bars, kind of go up so it's like right in the player's face. And now before I forget, I'm going to go ahead and go to my anchor. I'm going to center it there in my anchor. And these centers are really for helping keep things in the middle of the screen in the same place no matter what size screen is being used. So that's kind of the intent of anchors. All right, last thing to do is to change the text so it's bright and in your face, and there we go. So now we've got everything all set up as far as our text, but we got to get some functionality working here. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Let's go ahead and over here in our graph, let's select our graph, and the first thing we want to do, I think, is let's go ahead and update our current wave. We've already got all the information set up for our wave and for our health. To be able to count our kills, we're going to have to do a couple things. We've already got the information for our setup mission area warning visibility as well. So that's what we're going to do then. We'll go ahead and start with our health, since that's up on the upper left-hand corner. And I know I moved this over here. That was my mistake. Let's go back to Designer real quick. The way we're going to do this is from Designer, we're going to bind these different functions that we want to do. So the first thing we want to do is set up our health bar, okay? And I'm going to select my health bar, and on the right hand side, remember progress, and we have it here by percentage. This is where we want to start with this. So we're going to come over here, I'm going to hit the little bind, see the little bind down arrow, and right now there's nothing else in here, it just says bindings, create bindings. So we're going to click on the create binding plus symbol, and I'm going to pull this out a little ways here. And what we want to do is get this set up, but we need a variable that is missing. So let's go ahead and set this up. Right here where our variable is, we need to hit that little plus button, and I'm just going to name this what my character's name is, because, and I'm going to take caps lock off, Lieutenant Bellica. So that's my character. And we need to actually get a reference to our character. So down here under Boolean, I am just going to type in my character's name, and we want the blueprint reference to our character, and we want this as an object reference. So it should be this little blue symbol that looks like a character. And the next thing we want to do, and this is important, we haven't done this before, but right here where it says expose on spawn, we want that selected because we want to be able to use this as a HUD for our character. And when we get to that point, I'll show you what that little check mark did for us, okay? So now we've got our character set up. The next thing we need to do is we need to open the eye. We need to make this variable public, okay? Because this is going to go into our HUD. I'm going to pull this down, and I'm going to get Lieutenant Bellica. And we've already have our character's health set up. So let's go ahead and type in health. And we want to get health. And it should come out like this. We have our little target and then the health line. Now this is where it's where I talked about on our progress bar. Remember, our progress is done in decimals and 1 being complete. But when we set up our health, our character doesn't have a health of just 1 point. Our character has a health of 100. And if we want to turn that into percentages, we need to divide that, right? So if it's 100, we want to turn it into 1 and decimals, we need to divide it by 100, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to pull out from there, and we can type in the word divide. You can also hit the back bar, back line, whatever that is. So if I type in division, I want to do a float divide by float. And then right here where the number 1 is, we're going to type in 100 because we want to divide it by 100. And this is going to be our return value. We can go ahead and compile and save that. So that should work. All right, now the next thing we want to do is go back to our designer. And inside of our designer here, we're going to select our wave right here, okay? And with that selected, what we want to do is set it up so that this text will be replaced by what our actual wave number is. So right here next to text, see we have that little bind button. We're going to hit that down arrow. We're going to create a new binding for this. I'm going to select that. And again, we have a return node. Pull that out a little ways. And what we're going to do is well, kind of did a little error here. Let's go ahead and fix this. Right here on this functions, this top one, if we select this top one, this one should be our health one. If we double click on that, this is our health. So let's go ahead and hit F2 and let's name this what it's supposed to be so they don't get confusing. Okay. There we go, get health. And so now what we're doing is we're going to set up this one. So we're going to select on that text, hit F2 again. And this one is going to be our wave. So let's call this one update current wave. Okay. So we're going to update our current wave. Double click on that to go back to it. And right now it looks like this. So what we need to do, and I've already connected it. It's my bad again. Jumping ahead of myself. We're going to undo that. We're going to get rid of that. Actually, no, it came that way. So I didn't do that. I'm taking blame for something I didn't do. All right. So what we want to do is let's go ahead and pull that out. And we're going to cast this. And we're going to cast it to BP underscore. And it should be your character. Not the class. We want the actual character itself, just the name. Okay. And then, and nope. My bad. Not to our character. I get such a habit of doing that. This time we're actually going to cast it to BP underscore. We want our game mode. Okay. This should be game mode. My bad on that one. I have such a habit of casting it to the character or to the enemy. All right. So we're going to pull off from there and we're going to get game mode. Okay. And it should be a function, a green function, just like this. Get game mode. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is we can go ahead and we can connect this up. We're going to pull out from here game mode. And what we want to do is we want to know what wave it is. And we already set that up. We already set up our wave a little while ago. And let me just make sure everything's still working okay. Yep. All right. So we set that up when we set up our wave in the last video. So we're going to pull off from there and we're going to get current wave. Okay. Getting current wave. And from here, what we want to do is, I'm going to pull this out just a little bit. And we're going to want to append. So I'm just going to pull out from here and type in append. And what an append does is it allows us to, and it's not going to let us do it from there. So we'll just go ahead and do this. We'll right click. We're going to type in append. And we want append. This allows us to basically write in text that's going to go into the screen. And this text is what's going to replace the wave 5 that we put into our designer for our HUD. Remember I told you it was going to be replaced? Well, this is how it's going to be replaced. So we're going to connect this here. And normally you can't connect these little buttons to buttons, but this is going to convert an integer to a string for us. Okay. Pull this back a little bit. And then right up here in the A box, what we want to do is we're going to just type in wave and hit the space. Give yourself a space in between. And then need a little bit more room. What we want to do is we're going to convert this to text. Okay, and it should be toText string. And then we're going to connect this right up into there. And there we go. So this one is now all set up. This is going to update our current wave. We're going to compile it and we're going to save it. And we're going to go back to our designer real quick. All right, so back here we've now got our health bar, we've got our wave. Next thing we need to do is we need to get our enemy count working. So right here where that 0 is, we're going to select the 0. And again, we're going to change our text. So we're going to do a bind. We're going to create a binding. And this time I'm going to remember to do it first. We're going to select our function over here, the name, hit F2, and we're going to name this get kills. All right, well, that's great. We're going to get our kills, but we're missing something in order to do that. Okay. What we need to do is we need to have it so that our character actually is reporting those kills, and we're going to have to do a couple things to get that set up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to go find our content, our blueprints. We want our pawns, and we want to open up our character pawn. Okay, so our character blueprint, right? And the next thing we need to do is we need to create a new function, okay? And right here is where we do that. Remember, we're going to hit that little plus button, and we're going to call this increase kills. Okay, so increase kills, and this is just a real simple little blueprint. Right here, now that we've got that set up, and I've already created it down here, but I'm just going to delete that real quick. We're going to go through that process again. Right here where the variables are, we're going to hit the plus button. We're going to call this kills. And this variable, instead of being a Boolean, needs to be an integer because we're going to convert this into numbers. We're going to compile it and save it. And we're going to leave that at 0 over there. We're going to pull this out, pull out the variable. We're going to say kills. We're going to get it. And we're going to increment it. So instead of adding, we're incrementing, which means is take it to itself and add it to itself. Or add a new number to itself, so raise it by 1. So take it, whatever it is currently, and add 1 to it. So we're going to incrementally add to it. So what we want is hold the shift button, hit the plus sign twice, and right here we have the increment integer. And that saves us from having to do a little bit more complicated blueprinting because it's just going to look at itself and it's going to add 1 to it. We're going to compile it and save it. All right, so with that done, what we need to do now is go back into our blueprints again. So back into our blueprints, find our enemy blueprint for our spider in this case. And then what we want is we want the one that says kill enemy, right? So find the one that says kill enemy. And then remember when we set it up, we have cast to Lieutenant Bilica, and I told you we'd do something more with that later. And then over here, we have our cast to our BP game mode and register enemy death. I'm going to highlight these 4 items right there, move them to the right because I need a little bit of space to put something in here. And in this case, I'm going to pull off from here, hit the little plus button, and right here, pull out from here, and I'm going to type in increase kills. I want that function for increase kills that we just created. Plug that in. Notice how it automatically connects that for us. And then we're going to connect all of that together. All right, compile it and save it. So with all that done, let's go back to our HUD. Let's hit save real quick so we don't lose what we've already done. And inside of the HUD, now what we can do is we can pull out our character object reference, which is this variable here called Lieutenant Bilica for me, or whatever yours is. And from here, now I can just pull out and type in kills, get kills, and I want to convert this to text. Oops, type that correctly. And it should be an integer. Okay, so we have an integer here, and we're going to convert it to a text. And we're going to plug that in as our return value, compile it, and save it. Let's go back into our designer again. So we've got these 3 things done. The last thing we need to do is we need to set up our warning right here so that it's only visible when we are outside of the play area. So let's go ahead and select that. And again, this is going to be text. So right here we want to do our binding for our text. Okay. And this one is going to be named, hopefully I didn't accidentally just click that. Create a binding. And again, we're going to click here for F2. And I'm sorry, let's back out of here. Made a mistake here. Let's delete that real quick. We don't want that there. Let's go back to our designer. Totally don't know what I was thinking. Apologize on that one. We're not actually going to bind this one here. So we're going to select this, and we're just going to remove that binding. Okay. Make sure you remove that binding. I guess that's, at least you learned something here about how to remove it. So what we're going to actually do is, this is under behavior. Remember I mentioned that earlier? So behavior visibility. Right now it's visible. This we are going to select for our binding, and we're going to hit the down arrow right there for the visibility. We're going to create binding, and again back over here where it says get visibility, now we're going to hit F2, and we're going to set play area warning visibility. Okay. Kind of a long name, but it's very clear as to what this is going to do for us. Pull this return node out over here, and what we want to do is we're going to again pull out from here, get Lieutenant Bilica. We want to pull out, and we want outside play area. We want to get that. And what we want to do is we want to make it so that this is visible or not visible. But we're going to have to pull over here from the return node in order to get the correct select that we want. So we're going to pull out from there. We're going to type in select. It should be this little 3 lines going into an arrow thing. And right here we have our select. We're going to connect this into our index here. And now we got to think about this. If it is false, so if our character is inside the play area, we want this to be hidden. We want that text to be hidden. But if our player is outside the play area, it is true, and we want it to be visible. Let's go ahead and compile and save that. And let's go ahead and take a look back at our designer again up here. That should be everything we need to get this all set up. Now, I just want to repeat it one more time. If we're back here in the graph, check your character here that you have this exposed on spawn, and when you do that, it should have instances editable as well because we've allowed it to be visible. All right, so I think everything's done there. The next thing we need to do is we need to go back to our Lieutenant Bilica blueprint. Okay, and then inside this blueprint, let's go back to our event graph. Up here at the very top, I'm going to set it up here at the top because it's kind of one of the first things. Look for over here on the left. We didn't delete any of these. Hopefully you didn't. We want the event begin play. If you did delete it, you can always right click, type in event begin play, and you'll find it as one of the event options. Okay, but if it's already here, it won't let you make another one. All right, so with this setup, what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and right click in this area out here, and what we want is we want to create widget. Okay, and when we select create widget, the next thing we need to do is, if we take a look here, you see it just says owning player, and then under class, hit the down arrow and find the HUD that you just created. And when we did that, because we activated the visible on spawning, you'll see that our character name should pop up there. I'm going to go ahead and plug that in from here. I'm going to pull out from our character and type in self, and we want to get a reference to self. Okay, and then the next thing we want to do is pull out from the return value, and we want to add to viewport. Okay, and now with everything selected, hit C on the keyboard, and this is going to be our HUD setup. Okay, I'm going to compile and save. Go back to our screen here, and let's test it out, see if it's working. So if I hit play, our HUD should be up here at the top, and you can see that it is. And then with the enemy coming at us, as I kill the enemy, my enemy numbers increase that I killed. If I take damage, my health reduces, and I die. You can see that underneath where it says light needs to be rebuilt, you can see all of that. And if you take a look at the HUD at the top, you see that I have wave 1, I killed 5 enemy, and I have no health. So let's test this again. And this time try not to die. So let's test to see if the wave is working. Alright, so I killed all the enemies. It should go to wave 2, and it does. Alright, so the next thing I want to test is see if my character, when I go outside the play area, do I get the... Yes, I do. Alright, and then if I go back in from the play area, oh, I didn't get back in time and I died. Try that one more time. Because I should have picked an area I can actually run up and down a little bit easier. I go outside the play area. Okay, I go back in from the play area and it goes away. I don't know why I have that little flash there. Maybe there's... Oh, I think it's because it goes below the... So over here, that's one of the things you're going to have to notice, take a look at on your game, is if it is actually all the way to the ground. Right here, because I have a spot where I can fall, where I'm below, that pops up. So I have to go in and adjust my play area. But anyway, so we've got the basic functions. Everything for our HUD should be working. And that is a functional HUD. All right, so with that, again, if you are curious about this project and you want to start from the beginning, you can visit my YouTube channel, Paul Fritz Animation. But that is it for this time. If you liked the video, like what you saw, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.